Good morning. Hope you're doing well, and I hope you're having a really great week. You know, Sunday I talked about how we rejoice always, how we live a life where we're constantly having a spirit that says, God, you're a good God, and living a life of joy. How do we do that? I remember when I was in college, we had a group of students and we traveled overseas to Israel. We were there for almost 11 weeks. It was an incredible time, seeing and doing things that a normal tourist to Israel wouldn't be able to do. One of those things is that we took just our group of students on our own, went to the old city of Jerusalem. While we were there, we were at a bus stop, and there were buses coming and going all over, and we were waiting for our particular bus. So some of the students were sitting on the bench, and I was standing back behind the bench, and I was a bit apprehensive, thinking about where we're going and making sure that everything was going well. And as I remember very specifically, I stood there and I was kicking the back of the bench, just sort of keeping my foot busy. And about that time, all chaos just broke out. Soldiers were running around and with their guns, and they were pushing people back and pushing people back and pushing people back. And we didn't realize at the time that they were actually pushing people back away from the bench that we were sitting on. Finally, one of the guards noticed that we weren't moving, that we were just standing there and sitting there at the bench. They were speaking Hebrew, so some of us knew a little bit, but we couldn't really catch what was going on. And so the guard ran toward us and just started to yell and push back and push back and push back. When someone said, "What's going on?" then he realized that we were Americans, and he said, "Go, go, 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 run, run, run." And we realized at that point that they were trying to push us back away from the bench. And that's when we moved away from the bench and realized that at the bench there was this bag, a black sort of suitcase looking bag, and that was their concern. Whether someone had called in a bomb threat or if they just noticed it as something, they were very apprehensive that this might be a bomb. At the very place that I was kicking, of course, we quickly ran away and we got on a bus and drove away. We didn't even know where the bus is going. We had no idea. It didn't matter at that point. We were just leaving. Everyone was sort of apprehensive and excited and nervous. And all of a sudden, it wasn't fear that came over me. It was just an incredible peace. God was in control. Now, I don't know if that was actual bomb. They took it away, they blew it up, they got rid of it. But this is what I knew. God was watching over us. See, that day could have gone very wrong. This could be a very, very different story. Instead, it was a story of God was with us. I didn't even know, but God was watching over us. I didn't even understand, but God was there. And I believe that's the key to really understanding how do we live a life of rejoicing. And if you find yourself struggling and you're discouraged about what you're doing or what you have to go, or you're feeling a reluctancy to be there or go here, or this isn't working out, or you're dealing with something in your life that's just bringing a heaviness, you say, Greg, how can I live a rejoiceful life? I believe the key is to understand that God is there, that God has always been moving, that God has been blessing even when we don't realize it. In Leviticus, I was reminded in chapter 23 of the Feast of Tabernacles. And in this particular passage, it explains how you celebrate the Feast of Tabernacles, or how Israel did early on. Because you see, the Feast of Tabernacles was, another one was made a name for it as Feast of Tents or Booths. And Israel was supposed to go out and live in the tents to remind them of how God kept them. They were in the wilderness. They lived in tents. God fed them manna from the sky. He took care of them. He brought them into the promised land. God was always moving. And to celebrate the faithfulness of God and the things that God had done, they were to have 7 days of partying, 7 days of just rejoicing. In fact, it says in verse 40, on the first day, you are to take branches from very fruitful trees, from palms and willows and other leafy trees, and rejoice before the Lord your God for 7 days. Rejoice before the Lord. You see, this fruit was not only to fill the tables for the party, for the celebration, but they were to take the leaves and such and make beautiful decorations. Because God is about beauty, and God is about fruit, and God is about taking care of us and blessing us no matter what we're dealing with. And you see, there's always something you can stop and say, God, you were with me. God, you took care of me. God, you blessed me. I remember there. And I think we get discouraged or we get depressed when we forget what God has already done. And even if you're really new in the Lord and you're going, I don't know, if I can look back and think of some good things. You can look back and say, you know what? God kept me. God, I'm alive. I know God now. That is a blessing beyond comparison. You see, God is watching over you. God is blessing you. There is something to rejoice for. There is something to say, God, you were there. You kept me. You blessed me. And to give thanks for that. You see, that is the key, I believe, to overcoming whatever depression or discouragement or lack of rejoicing in your spirit. Your spirit can respond to the fact that God, you did it. And God, you're moving. And God, you're going to keep doing that. Wow. That's how we live a rejoiceful, joy-filled life. And that's my prayer for you.